Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, so when the ketogenic diet comes up, right, the conversation, it almost always goes straight to two things. Rapid fat loss, number one.
Yeah.
And like inevitably someone asks about bacon.
Yeah.
It just gets framed as this tool for quick body changes.
Yeah, it's the standard take, isn't it? Weight loss first.
Exactly. But the sources you shared with us today, well, they suggest we might be looking at this whole lifestyle thing kind of through the wrong lens. I mean, you've given us stuff that really digs deep into these subtle, longer-term shifts, like mental performance, physical clarity, that internal balance stuff.
Yeah, that's it.
These seem to be the real wins of going keto, according to these materials. Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission here is really to move past the number on the scale, way past it. We want to explore what we're calling the hidden benefits of keto. You know, those foundational improvements to your whole system, the ones that actually boost your well-being overall.
That's exactly right. We're shifting the focus, moving away from the immediate, the visible, and really looking at the sustained internal changes. These hidden benefits, they're the small step-by-step gains. In physical energy, sure, but maybe even more importantly, in that cognitive clarity. That happens when your body finally makes that full metabolic switch, you know, and starts consistently using fat and ketones as its main fuel.
Okay.
They feel subtle, I think, because they often take a bit of time. We're generally talking, maybe a 4 to 8 week window for things to really stabilize.
Right.
And you don't measure them by hopping on the scale. It's more about how sharp do you feel? How consistent is your performance? How well are you actually sleeping?
And getting that shift is so key for sticking with it long term, isn't it? Like the common benefit people chase, that fast weight loss, it's actually underpinned by a hidden benefit. Much better insulin sensitivity, which, as we know, is huge for long-term metabolic health, preventing type 2 diabetes, that kind of thing.
Absolutely crucial.
And similarly, what people might just feel is a quick energy boost early on.
Yeah.
Well, that actually grows into something deeper, right? This hidden benefit of sustained focus, reliable productivity, getting rid of that, classic 3 p.m. crash and the brain fog. It feels like a real system upgrade.
It really does. And what's fascinating here is just how much of that positive change seems to be driven by the brain. You hear it again and again from people who stick with it, that improved brain function is often their biggest non-scale victory. It's like a level of focus they maybe haven't felt in years.
That totally makes sense because the brain's literally changing its fuel source, right? So instead of riding those glucose ups and downs, it starts using ketones. But when we say ketones are cleaner, more efficient fuel, how does that actually work? Like, how does that physical switch translate into feeling sharper, more focused? What's the mechanism there at the cell level?
Right, okay. So it really boils down to cellular efficiency, particularly inside the mitochondria, the power plants in your cells. When the brain runs on glucose, the process of breaking it down, it inevitably creates more reactive oxygen species. Think of it like cellular exhaust, oxidative stress. Ketones, though, they kind of bypass some key steps in that whole glucose pathway, which means they burn cleaner, essentially. Fewer byproducts, less metabolic junk. So less inflammation, less stress on the brain cells themselves. And the result is this much more stable, steady energy supply, which translates directly into that feeling of sustained mental endurance, faster processing, and way less of that cognitive fatigue we call brain fog.
Yeah, that sustained performance is huge, especially when you think about long-term brain health. I mean, we saw sources suggesting ketones might even be protective for brain cells, supporting cognitive resilience down the line. That's way more than just a temporary perk.
Absolutely. It's potentially quite profound. But, and this is important, that cognitive gain really depends on the quality of the fuel you're giving it.
Right.
If you want that clean, high-performance brain fuel, the quality of the fats you eat is just, it's non-negotiable.
So junk in, junk out, basically.
Pretty much. The practical tip here is simple. Those processed low-carb snacks, often loaded with cheap, maybe inflammatory seed oils, they're not going to give you the same cognitive bang for your buck. You need those high-quality fats. Things like avocados, fatty fish packed with omega-3s, good olive oil, eggs. These provide the essential building blocks, the actual structural material for brain cells. They directly support the integrity you need to really maximize that clean keto energy. Like you wouldn't put low-grade fuel in a race car and expect it to win, right? Same idea.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Optimize the engine with good parts and clean fuel. So does this internal stability, this successful metabolic shift, does that also ripple out to improve the body's other control systems, like hormones, and maybe inflammation levels generally.
Oh, absolutely. And this is where we start seeing some really significant downstream health benefits. Let's call it benefit number 2, achieving profound hormonal balance.
How does keto do that?
It mainly works by tackling insulin resistance head-on. Insulin, you see, it's a master hormone. Its signals are tightly connected to other major players: estrogen, testosterone, cortisol, the ones managing stress, sex drive, mood, all that.
Right, they're all interconnected.
Exactly. So when you stabilize and lower those insulin levels through keto, you get this huge positive ripple effect across the board. We've seen, specific examples. Women dealing with PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, they often report more regular cycles, fewer hormonal breakouts, just better emotional stability overall.
Wow.
And for men, this shift often translates into much steadier energy levels, less irritability, improved mood.
So how would someone track this kind of progress? It's not like hormones show up on the scale.
Good point. You have to forget the scale for this one. Start tracking things like your sleep quality, how rested do you feel waking up, track your morning energy levels, your mood consistency throughout the day. Do this over several weeks. Because those subjective feelings, they're actually much more sensitive indicators of your internal hormone balance than, slight weight fluctuations day to day.
That's a really powerful internal shift.
Okay.
Okay, so right alongside that hormonal balance, you mentioned benefit number 3. A big drop in systemic inflammation. How does keto pull that off? Is it just cutting sugar?
Well, limiting the glucose spikes is a huge part of it, yes. Those spikes are major drivers of inflammation. And keto also helps reduce overall oxidative stress in the body.
Okay, but hang on. Let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Go for it.
Don't you see reduced inflammation, lower CRP levels, that kind of thing? With pretty much any diet where people cut out refined sugars and lose a significant amount of weight, what makes this specific to keto?
That's a really fair question, and it's important to make the distinction. While, yes, any successful weight loss plan that cuts sugar will lower inflammation markers, the sources we looked at suggest that the presence of ketones themselves might offer an independent anti-inflammatory effect.
Ah, okay. So ketones are doing something directly.
Potentially, yes. There's research showing ketones can directly interact with something called the inflammasome. It's a key part of the immune system's inflammatory response. Ketones seem to dampen that response, sometimes even before substantial weight loss kicks in. So it seems to go beyond just removing the sugar trigger. It might be an active intervention by the ketones.
That makes the results feel even more significant then. We're talking reduced inflammation leading to, what? Less joint pain.
Exactly. Less chronic joint pain is a common report. Better gut comfort, too. And this is a big one for active people. Faster muscle recovery after workout.
Yeah.
Definitely. Many people notice they just wake up with fewer aches and pains after maybe the first month or 2 of consistent, clean keto.
And like you said, there are measurable markers. C-reactive protein, CRP, that blood marker for general inflammation, often drops pretty quickly, sometimes within that first 4 to 8 weeks. And practically speaking, you could track soreness, right? Like if your muscles usually took, say, 3 days to feel normal after a tough workout, maybe that shortens noticeably.
Precisely. And when we look beyond those immediate internal markers, we get to benefit number 4, which is how all this internal optimization starts showing up on the outside. Specifically, improvements in skin and gut health.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, when you stabilize blood sugar and reduce that systemic inflammation we just talked about, you naturally improve the skin's oil balance, less fluctuation. And crucially, you create a much friendlier environment for a healthy gut microbiome.
Right, the gut connection. So cutting out the sugar helps starve the bad bacteria. Is that the idea?
That's a big part of it. Excess sugar feeds certain undesirable bacteria and yeasts in the gut. Reducing that helps calm things down, reduce those bacterial imbalances.
And that calmer gut translates to?
Directly into less bloating for many people, fewer inflammatory skin breakouts, acne, rosacea sometimes improve, and just generally smoother, more comfortable digestion. People often report significant improvements in how they feel and, frankly, how they look.
Okay, so once you achieve the sort of layered internal stability, less inflammation, better hormones, steady blood sugar, you mentioned unlocking other secondary gains. Like what else starts to click into place?
Yeah, it's like a positive cascade effect. We're talking about really reliable, stable energy, not just avoiding the 3 p.m. slump, but feeling consistently energized throughout the entire day.
Right.
Significantly improved sleep quality is another big one. People often report falling asleep faster, sleeping deeper. Also, a near total vanishing of those intense sugar cravings that used to drive them nuts.
Oh, I bet that's a relief for many.
Huge. And surprisingly, some sources even mention potential relief from mild seasonal allergies,
Yeah.
probably linked back to that overall reduction in the body's inflammatory load.
Interesting. Okay, so given all these diverse benefits, are there specific groups who seem to benefit the most?
Well, the sources highlighted a couple of groups quite clearly. Endurance athletes, for one.
Why them specifically?
They often notice much better fat oxidation. Basically, their bodies get really good at burning fat for fuel during long efforts. This is sometimes called glycogen sparing. It means they can tap into their fat reserves for steady energy, saving their limited carb stores the glycogen for those crucial high-intensity bursts, maybe late in a race, leads to better endurance, and often faster recovery afterwards, too.
Makes sense. Who else?
The other big group mentioned is, perhaps predictably, office professionals, or really anyone whose job demands sustained mental focus.
Ah, the brain fog fighters.
Exactly. They see massive gains in that sustained focus and energy we talked about. For them, optimization is really key, though. They need to be diligent about managing electrolytes, especially early on, to avoid fatigue or headaches. And really consciously include those omega-3 rich foods, the fatty fish, maybe walnuts, chia seeds, to continually fuel that newfound mental clarity. It's about working smarter, not just relying on caffeine fixes.
Okay.
So if these benefits we've been discussing, the sharper focus, the better sleep, less pain, hormonal balance, if they're really that powerful, it brings up a key question your sources tackled. Why aren't these the main things people talk about? Why is the public conversation always just about the number on the scale?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it seems to boil down to a couple of things. Measurement and visibility.
How so?
Well, weight loss is loud.
Mm.
It's pretty immediate, at least initially.
Mm-hmm.
It shows up in before and after photos. It's super easy to track every single day with a scale.
Right, instant feedback.
Exactly. But improved sleep quality,
Yeah.
sustained mental clarity, calmer digestion, that stuff is subtle. It takes like internal awareness, discipline, to actually track how you feel.
It's subjective.
Very subjective. And crucially, because these deeper hidden benefits, they often don't really lock in and become super obvious until maybe that 4 to 8 week mark.
Uh-huh.
A lot of casual followers, the ones just focused on the scale number, they get discouraged if the weight loss slows down, and they quit. They quit before the really profound internal benefits even have a chance to fully show up.
Ah, so they missed the main event because they left the party too early.
Basically, yeah. They're only looking for that immediate, visible feedback and miss the deeper prize.
That makes sense. And it underlines that capturing these benefits really demands consistency and, crucially, a focus on quality over just, carb quantity. The key to unlocking these deeper wins seems to be following a clean keto plan, centered on whole, unprocessed foods, healthy fats, and consciously avoiding that trap of just swapping out, say, pasta for a bunch of highly processed, low-carb frankenfoods.
Right. Quality matters hugely. So to really help people maximize these deep hidden wins, we need a kind of actionable checklist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Based on what the sources say. So number one seems to be track more than just weight. Track your focus levels, your skin health, digestion, energy. Maybe keep a simple weekly journal. These subjective things are your best clues to internal success.
Good one. What else?
Second, prioritize those whole food fats we talked about. Avocado, olive oil, nuts, fatty fish. Your brain literally depends on them for this kind of performance. Third, eat plenty of non-starchy vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
Spinach, kale, broccoli, cauliflower. Get that fiber and those micronutrients, essential for gut health.
Mm-hmm.
Fiber is key.
Fourth, hydration and electrolytes, especially early on. Drink enough water and pay attention to sodium, potassium, magnesium. Mineral balance is critical for energy, mood, avoiding cramps. Very important, often overlooked.
And finally, number 5. Don't be afraid of some carbs, specifically the fibrous, nutrient-rich ones from whole foods. We're talking net carbs here, total carbs minus fiber. Things like spinach, zucchini, berries in moderation. That fiber is non-negotiable for feeding your good gut bacteria and keeping digestion happy.
That's a great checklist. So if we try to connect all this back to the bigger picture, what's the main takeaway here? I think the overall conclusion is pretty clear. The ketogenic diet, when you do it right, cleanly, sustainably, it's way more than just a weight loss tool. It's really a lifestyle change that fundamentally alters more than your waistline. It's a holistic approach. It rewires your primary energy source, can dramatically improve mental clarity, helps balance critical hormone signals, and seems to actively drive down inflammation throughout your entire body.
A full system upgrade, like we said.
Exactly. However, and this is really important, we absolutely have to stress the crucial caveat, results do vary a lot based on the quality of your diet, your individual lifestyle, genetics, existing health factors. It's not one size fits all. And anyone with existing health issues, particularly things like diabetes, any thyroid conditions, kidney issues, or other chronic illnesses, you must, absolutely must consult with a healthcare professional before making major dietary changes like this. No exceptions.
Super important disclaimer.
And also, the risk of nutrient deficiencies is real if you're not careful. If you restrict too many food groups without replacing nutrients, or if you neglect hydration and those electrolytes we mentioned, you have to be smart about it.
Right. So what does this all really mean for someone listening, maybe considering keto or already doing it? It means that number on the scale. Honestly, it's often the least interesting part of the whole story. The real triumph of this approach, when done well, seems to be that internal optimization. That feeling that your body and your mind are finally working together smoothly, efficiently. So our suggestion is, focus on tracking those subtle, non-scale changes. Notice the reliable energy you have at 3 p.m. now. Pay attention to how fast you recover after a tough workout. Recognize the clarity you feel in that important meeting.
Those are the real wins.
Exactly. Those improvements speak directly to the lasting changes happening inside you at a cellular level. That sustained performance, that feeling of well-being, that's often far more valuable in the long run than any number on a scale. So yeah, we'd really encourage you, start tracking those non-scale victories. They tell the real story.